August 6th, 1945, Hiroshima. August 9, Nagasaki.
The atom bomb attacks on Japan.
My father was married to his work. I don't have a single memory of going places or doing stuff with him on weekends. But even as a kid, I knew on some level that it was for his family. I respected him. My mother used to tell me all the time, "Your father is a brilliant scientist. He saved countless American boys from death. You should be proud of him."
Yeah. You could say the war ended because of those bombs.
When I was in the 5th grade, a Japanese student transferred to our class. She showed me photos of Hiroshima after the bomb. I couldn't believe my eyes. A city of over 350,000 people reduced to a scorch mark on the ground by a single atomic bomb. Houses blown off their foundations, burned to ashes. The only things left standing were the skeletons of steel-framed buildings. And it wasn't just the buildings. Blackened corpses on the side of the road. Survivors covered head to toe in severe burns. Within a few months, over 70,000 had died in Nagasaki, twice that in Hiroshima. For years after that, I couldn't talk to my father. Couldn't even stand to look at his face.
I know how you feel, Doc. But your father's your father.
If he hadn't worked on that project, my body wouldn't be like this. I could be researching something else. I could have lived a normal life. It wasn't so long ago the world stood on the brink of nuclear war.
Just over on the other side of the Caribbean.
I was 17 at the time. I'd skipped a few grades and was a sophomore at MIT. I remember feeling kind of apathetic about the news that came in every day. It seemed clear to me that as long as they had a grasp of the concept of nuclear deterrence, there was nothing to fear.
Either that, or they were fanning that fear on purpose.
As a way to secure a bigger defense budget? Huh, I can see that. But if that was their plan, it kind of backfired.
Because it ushered in the era of détente between East and West.
Coldman's really gonna do it this time. Once the nuclear genie is out of the bottle, the yoke of deterrence is going to be meaningless. People will die. Cities will burn. We have to stop him now before it's too late to turn back.
So you've been doing nuclear research your whole life?
No, not really. At first I wanted to be an aerospace engineer. For me, the Sputnik launch was a good shock, not a bad one. I thought the age when science was used for war was over, and that a glorious age of space exploration was dawning. The year I skipped ahead and got into MIT, Gagarin went into orbit, which made me more excited than ever. Of course, even back then, I knew the space race was just another facet of the Cold War.
Moscow had a leg up on us, and we were desperate to catch up.
I know. But for me, it was a happy time. I joined NASA, got to do the kind of research I loved. Our nation's prestige hinged on our work. They gave us whatever resources we asked for. I knew you could turn a rocket into an ICBM by fitting it with a nuclear warhead, but that didn't bother me so much. It didn't last long, though. The space and nuclear arms races took up enormous sums of money. America beat Russia to the moon, but that's where it ended.
Then came détente.
Exactly. NASA's budget was slashed as a result. My father being a nuclear expert and all, they put me to work on a more obvious deterrent: missiles. At NASA, I'd been researching a locomotion system for lunar exploration. Tires aren't suited to driving around on the moon, you know. And that's how I caught Coldman's eye.
Chico, you know much about cloud forests?
Not that much. All I know is there's a world of difference between a rainy rainforest and a foggy cloud forest. But they have some things in common. But like, for instance, you gotta watch out for poison dart frogs. Both rain and cloud forests have high humidity, so they're perfect environments for frogs and other amphibians. I mean, it's not like just touching a strawberry poison dart frog or a dying dart frog is going to kill you, but don't eat them, no matter how hungry you get.
I can get all the rations I need from Mother Base. No jungle food for me this time.
Seriously? You're not disappointed you don't get to eat wild animals?
What do you think I
am? Just kidding. In Colombia, though, there's a frog, the golden dart frog, that's lethal to the touch.
How do you know all this?
Come on. Don't you think poisonous animals are cool?
Not if you get poisoned by one.
Well, obviously. One more thing. When you get to the forest, be on the lookout for Bigfoot.
I think I'll be okay there.
Bigfoot is an ape-man that lives in the Rocky Mountains. In the local Indian language, he's known as Sasquatch. And get this, he's over 3 vara. Can you believe that?
So he's kind of like a gorilla?
Completely different. Even the biggest gorillas only get to about 2 vara, and they walk on their knuckles. Bigfoot's big, and he walks on 2 feet, like people.
So he's more man than ape?
Probably. His ancestors must have split off from humans at some point. Like before they started using tools and stuff.
Yeah, but aren't the Rockies kind of far away from here?
Not that far. According to Darwin, humans came all the way over here from Africa. Plus, there have been sightings in Venezuela of an ape-man called Mono Grande. Costa Rica has tons of plant and animal species. So I'd expect there to be at least one kind of ape-man.
At least. Gotta admit, I've never heard of Mono Grande.
Yeah, he's not as famous as Bigfoot. He's similar, but he lives in Venezuela. He's not that big, less than 2 vara, but he's way more ferocious than Bigfoot. Huh. I wonder just how mean he is. Like when he catches his prey, does he punch it to death?
That's the law of the wild. You catch your prey, you kill it, and you eat it.
Yeah. But punching is way more ferocious than biting.
Well, maybe it seems that way because that's what humans do. You really love UMAs, don't you, Chico?
Do you know what I think? I think UMAs should be dangerous. Otherwise, where's the fun in hunting them?
That coffee you guys brought us is pretty damn good.
Isn't it? Costa Rican coffee is the best. The Central Basin has all the right conditions for growing coffee. It is high in elevation, with steady temperatures and well-drained volcanic soils.
The professor certainly seems attached to it.
The coffee we drank on the boat coming over was awful. It put him in such a terrible mood.
Well, how come I never hear about Costa Rican coffee then?
Because it gets bought up by wholesalers and mixed with beans from other countries. It is really a shame. Such wonderful beans, and nobody knows they are from Costa Rica.
Huh. They should launch an ad campaign or something.
Right. I hope one day people will recognize Costa Rican coffee for what it is.
I'm with you there. Are there any large-scale ruins in Costa Rica, Paz?
There is a place east of Cartago called Guajabu. They have ruins there, but they're not especially big.
Not the place I'm thinking of. Any others?
Well, if you go a little way across the border into Nicaragua, there's a place called La Fortaleza de la Inmaculada Concepción. That is the only famous one.
Then what were those ruins I saw from up on Irasu?
There are a lot of things we still do not know about Costa Rica's ancient civilizations. There are giant stone spheres throughout the country. What they were used for is still a mystery.
You know that butterfly painted on Peace Walker? Any idea what that is?
It is a morpho. A Pallades morpho, if I'm not mistaken.
Pallades morpho?
Uh-huh. It is the most common type of morpho in Costa Rica.
Huh.
It has these gorgeous metallic blue wings that shimmer in the light. You can see them even from a distance.
You mean they reflect light?
Correct. It is called structural color. Morpho scales have tiny bumps on them that interfere with the light and make them look blue. The space between the bumps corresponds to the wavelength of the blue light.
Let me see if I get this. So if you could change the spacing, you'd end up seeing a different color.
That is the principle. I heard somewhere it is being researched as a way to color cloth without dye.
Think of the camouflage you could make with that.
Is that all you can think of?
Hey, it's important. What I don't get is why they'd put a butterfly on Peace Walker.
Maybe because it looks pretty.
I hope that's all it is.
My mother was the one who named me Paz. She said it was an expression of her wish that the country stay at peace. It is a pretty common name in Central America. My mother always used to tell me, never make war. Always help keep the peace.
I remember. Your grandparents.
Yes. They died in the Civil War. I think that is why my mother hated war so much.
That's another thing you've got in common with Kaz. His mother named him Peace, too.
See, because Japan also suffered through war. I think I know how Mr. Miller's mother felt.
You like the peace sign, huh?
See, as a gesture, it connects every peace-loving person. Here, you try it, Snake. Peace.
No thanks. It doesn't suit me.
Too bad for you.
You know, the V in the peace sign comes from the V in victory. When did it start standing for peace?
I am not completely sure, but I guess it came out of the protest movement against the Vietnam War. Oh, and do not turn your hand around when you do it, especially around British people. It is insulting.
So, you live alone now?
No, not alone. I've been living in school dormitories since I started junior high. After my mother died, my relatives took me in, but they were not my real family.
You didn't fit in there.
In a way. My aunts were kind to me and all. But I know how difficult it must have been to suddenly have a child thrust into their lives. When you live with someone, there are no secrets. I could tell my being there was a burden on them.
Sounds like a rough childhood.
I would not say that. I was lucky just to have people take me in. There are huérfanos living out in the streets because their mothers died. It is even worse in countries with frequent civil wars. So, who am I to complain about my childhood?
You're a pretty tough kid, you know.
Not at all. I am not strong at all.